And we told you earlier that former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper says that he's entering the 2020 presidential race. The 67-year-old touted his record in state politics in a video announcing his candidacy.
With a divided legislature, we got health care coverage for nearly 95% of all Coloradans. We lifted our rural economy as Colorado went from 40th in job growth to the #1 economy in America. We brought environmentalists and oil and gas companies to the table to create the toughest methane emissions laws in the country. Then, we beat the NRA by enacting universal background checks and banning high-capacity magazines.
So for more on this, CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns joins me now this morning. So, Caitlin, John Hickenlooper, give me his resume.
Well, he actually didn't start out in politics. He started out as a geologist of all professions and then later got into microbrewing, and that's kind of how he made his money, and then ran for mayor of Denver and then was elected for 2 terms as Colorado governor. And as you saw in that video there, he's pitching himself as a progressive businessman, and he feels like that's kind of where he can establish a lane in what we know is a very crowded Democratic field.
Already, yeah, he touted, some of his accomplishments there. Can we expect that he'll sort of expand on that list as a justification for him running?
Absolutely, because there has been a lot of criticism of, does the party need another white male to lead the party? And that's a question that voters are going to be asking and answering themselves. But Hickenlooper thinks that his business experience and his executive experience as governor will help him kind of create a niche in this field. And he's also going to face some criticism, but also some opportunities. And opportunities he's talked about progressive things that he's done in the state that got backlash from conservatives, instituting several gun measures after that deadly shooting in 2012 in Aurora, Colorado. He is going to probably speak a lot to that. He's going to speak to the economy in Colorado and speak to the ways in which the state has been changing demographically that he thinks kind of show the future of the party.
Speaking of progressive, also legalization of marijuana. He presided over that. Is that likely to help or hurt him?
Well, it's a very interesting case because he did preside over it, but he was personally opposed to it. So I bet he'll get a lot of questions from voters throughout this primary process about why he opposed it initially. But as you mentioned, he'll point to that experience as he helped implement it in the state of Colorado. So a little bit of a line he'll have to thread there.
So you sort of touched on this. He's, a white male, older white male, just like Jay Inslee from Washington. We've got another older white male. So we're seeing, and possibly Sanders as well. So we're seeing sort of a few people throwing their hat into the ring that are older white males, different than the initial sort of grouping of potential candidates. Is that likely to help or harm him? Is that going to be a challenge when he sort of tries to defend the diversity of the party and also name recognition?
It's a really good question. Yeah. You mentioned that Inslee, the governor from Washington, got in last week. So Hickenlooper is now the 2nd governor, and we're all going to be trying to figure out how to spell his name correctly.
It's a memorable name.
Which we've been having a few weeks to get used to. So name recognition is going to be key, but it's going to be key for a lot of these candidates, and that's why some of these more underdog candidates who might be not even registering the polls feel like they have an avenue because, hey, why not me? There are so many others, and there is no clear front runner. So someone like Hickenlooper is going to be going to these early states. He's supposed to go to Iowa this weekend after officially launching his campaign in Colorado, trying to just introduce himself to voters and do the kind of grassroots politicking, and we'll see kind of how he's received.
Yeah, you might not know the name, but I think once you hear it, it's hard to forget because it is pretty unique.
It could be a benefit.